I met him at my darkest hour. Dominic Harrington rescued me with his charming smile, only to destroy me completely. 2 weeks before our wedding, I found him in bed with my cousin Valencia. You were convenient, he laughed when I confronted him. Valencia has connections my family actually values. His parents called me worthless when I sought their help. Even my own family sided with them, saying I should step aside quietly for everyone's benefit. They all disowned me that night, treating me like I was nothing. 9 years have passed since I packed my grandmother's camera and left without saying goodbye. Now I've returned as the mysterious artist they're all desperate to meet. They have no idea who I really am or what I've prepared for them. This time, I refuse to suffer in silence while they enjoy their perfect lives built on my broken dreams. I met him at my darkest hour. Dominic Harrington rescued me with his charming smile, only to destroy me completely. 2 weeks before our wedding, I found him in bed with my cousin Valencia. You were convenient, he laughed when I confronted him. Valencia has connections my family actually values. His parents called me worthless when I sought their help. Even my own family sided with them, saying I should step aside quietly for everyone's benefit. They all disowned me that night, treating me like I was nothing. 9 years have passed since I packed my grandmother's camera and left without saying goodbye. Now I've returned as the mysterious artist they're all desperate to meet. They have no idea who I really am or what I've prepared for them. This time, I refuse to suffer in silence while they enjoy their perfect lives built on my broken dreams. Olivia Blackwood's life revolved around sacrifice. Each morning, she dragged herself out of bed at 4 a.m. to open the cafe, her fingers permanently stained with coffee grounds despite her best efforts to scrub them clean. By afternoon, she was editing portfolios for clients, squeezing in extra photography work between shifts. All this while supporting her fiancé Dominic Harrington through medical school, paying their rent, and somehow planning a wedding that would please his aristocratic family. Tonight was no different. Olivia massaged her aching feet as she reviewed their budget at the kitchen table. 3 more double shifts this week would cover the florist deposit. The wedding was only 2 weeks away, and the Harringtons expected perfection. She glanced at the calendar where she had crossed off another day. Soon, all this struggle would be worth it. Dominic would be a successful doctor, and she could finally open her own photography studio. Her phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Harrington, reminding her about Sunday dinner. "Wear something appropriate this time, dear," the message read. Olivia sighed. Her future mother-in-law never missed an opportunity to criticize her wardrobe, her manners, her very existence in their world. The Harrington estate sprawled across 5 acres of perfectly manicured grounds. Guards nodded at Olivia as she drove through the gates in her 15-year-old Honda, a stark contrast to the luxury vehicles parked in the circular driveway. Inside, Mrs. Harrington greeted her with air kisses and a critical once-over. "That dress is quite bold," she said, eyeing Olivia's modest blue sundress. "Perhaps something more subdued next time." Mr. Harrington barely looked up from his newspaper. "Is Dominic still at the hospital?" "He's presenting a case study to the board," Olivia answered proudly. "He said he might be late." Mrs. Harrington nodded approvingly. "At least he takes his future seriously." "Come, we should discuss the seating arrangements again." The Bordeaux family confirmed they're attending, and they simply cannot be seated near the Whitleys. Over dinner, Olivia endured another round of subtle criticisms disguised as helpful advice. Her table manners needed refinement. Her knowledge of wine was limited. Her career ambitions were quaint but unrealistic for a doctor's wife. "You'll learn," Mrs. Harrington assured her with a thin smile. "Dominic needs a wife who understands tradition. Someone who can host charity galas and support his career properly." Later that week, Olivia had a surprise. She discovered a breathtaking cliffside location for their wedding photos, the perfect backdrop to begin their perfect life together. Leaving work early, she rushed home with the sample shots, excited to show Dominic her find. But their apartment wasn't empty. From the hallway, she heard laughter, her cousin Valencia's unmistakable lilting giggle followed by Dominic's low murmur. Strange, since Valencia had declined every invitation to meet Dominic, claiming she was too busy with her jet-setting lifestyle. Olivia paused outside their bedroom door, left slightly ajar. Through the crack, she could see them entangled in the sheets of the bed she and Dominic shared. Poor Olivia, Valencia was saying, twirling a strand of her perfect blonde hair. Always behind a camera or coffee machine. So ordinary, so desperate to please your family. She's convenient, Dominic replied, tracing Valencia's collarbone with his finger. My parents approve of her work ethic. Someone who will support me without demanding too much attention. But you understand our world. Valencia laughed again. Of course I do. The Bordeaux connection alone makes me a more suitable choice. My mother is already discussing investments with your father. Olivia's breath caught in her throat as Valencia raised her hand to admire something that glinted in the afternoon light. It was Olivia's engagement ring, her grandmother's diamond reset for her finger, now on her cousin's hand. It looks much better on you, Dominic said. It was always meant for someone like you. When will you tell her? Valencia asked. The wedding is so close. After the hospital board meeting. My father says we should wait until my position is secure. Olivia handled all the arrangements anyway. We can just change the bride. They laughed together, making plans for a future that erased Olivia completely. She stood frozen, clutching the memory card with wedding location photos as her world collapsed around her. Later that evening, when Dominic returned home, Olivia was sitting in the dark living room, waiting. He flipped on the light, startled to find her there. Liv, why are you sitting in the dark? Is something wrong? How long? She asked quietly. How long have you been seeing Valencia? Dominic's face shifted from surprise to cold calculation in seconds. He straightened his shoulders, suddenly the aristocrat rather than the loving fiancé. I suppose this makes things simpler, he said. 6 months if you must know. She was back from Paris. We met at the hospital fundraiser, the one you were too busy to attend. You asked me to work that night, Olivia whispered. You said you needed the money for your presentation materials. Dominic shrugged. And you believed me. That's always been your problem, Olivia. So willing to sacrifice, so eager to please. Did you really think someone like me would end up with someone like you permanently? We're engaged. We're getting married in 2 weeks. We're engaged, he corrected, pulling her ring box from his pocket. Valencia will need the actual box for Instagram. She already has the ring, as you apparently know. I loved you, Olivia said, tears streaming down her face. I gave you everything. And I'm grateful for your support, he replied with practiced sincerity. You helped me through medical school, that's something, isn't it? But Valencia is who I'm meant to be with, someone who complements my position in society. His cruelty was so casual, so matter-of-fact that Olivia could barely breathe. This wasn't the man she thought she knew, or perhaps she had never really known him at all. Your family knows, don't they? She asked suddenly. They've always known I was temporary. Of course they know, Dominic looked annoyed now. They helped arrange things with Valencia's family months ago. Why do you think they've been so insistent on wedding details? They wanted to make sure everything would be suitable when we made the switch. Olivia felt like she was drowning, gasping for air as Dominic's words sank in. Everything had been a lie. The late nights, the sacrifices, the constant effort to impress his family, all while they plotted behind her back with her own cousin. So what happens now? She asked, her voice surprisingly steady despite the storm inside her. Do I just disappear quietly? Make room for Valencia like a good, convenient ex? Dominic checked his watch impatiently. That would be best for everyone. The hospital board is voting on my residency next week. A scandal would be unfortunate timing. Unfortunate timing, Olivia repeated. That's what I am to you, a potential scandal. He sighed, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. Look, you can keep the apartment until the lease ends next month. I'll stay with my parents. I think that's more than fair considering the circumstances. Fair? The word ignited something in Olivia. I paid for this apartment while you studied. I paid for the food you ate, the clothes you wore to interviews, the gifts you gave your parents at Christmas. And I'm giving you time to sort yourself out, he snapped, his polished veneer cracking. What more do you want? Money? Is that it? Because we both know you signed the prenup. The prenuptial agreement. Olivia had signed it without reading all the clauses, trusting Dominic when he said it was just a formality his family required. Now she wondered what else she had blindly accepted. I'm going to speak with your parents, she said suddenly, grabbing her keys. They should tell me this to my face. Dominic's eyes widened with something close to panic. Don't be dramatic, Olivia. It's late, and they won't appreciate the theatrics. But Olivia was already out the door, her hands shaking as she started her car. The drive to the Harrington estate passed in a blur of streetlights and tears. When she arrived, the security guard hesitated before letting her in, clearly uncomfortable. Mrs. Harrington said to expect you, he mumbled, not meeting her eyes, so they were waiting for her. The betrayal cut even deeper. In the grand living room, Mr. and Mrs. Harrington sat like royalty on their matching armchairs. There was no surprise on their faces, no shame, only the cool assessment she had grown accustomed to over the years. Olivia, dear, do sit down, Mrs. Harrington gestured to a chair across from them. Dominic called ahead, we thought it best to clear the air. Olivia remained standing. Clear the air? You've been planning to replace me with my cousin for months, while I planned your son's wedding, while I supported him through school. Mr. Harrington cleared his throat. Now, no need for dramatics. We appreciated your support of Dominic during his studies. Very industrious of you. But surely you understood that marriage is also about suitable connections and maintaining certain standards. Standards I could never meet, Olivia said flatly. You were never quite right for us, dear, Mrs. Harrington said with practiced sympathy. Your background, your ambitions. A doctor's wife needs certain qualities, certain connections. Valencia understands our world. And she has that convenient Bordeaux connection, Olivia added bitterly, remembering what she had overheard. The flicker of surprise in Mrs. Harrington's eyes confirmed it. Yes, well, business and family have always been intertwined in our circles, something you never quite grasped, despite our attempts to guide you. Guide me? Olivia laughed, a harsh sound that seemed to startle the Harringtons. You criticized me. You belittled me. You never had any intention of welcoming me into your family. That's not entirely fair, Mr. Harrington frowned. We accepted your relationship with Dominic when he insisted. We even helped finance the wedding. Really, Olivia, this emotional display is exactly the sort of thing that concerned us. The wedding you were planning for Valencia all along, Olivia said. Does my family know about this too? The brief exchange of glances between the Harringtons told her everything. Her knees felt weak, but she refused to sit down in their presence. Not anymore. I see, she whispered. Everyone knew except me. Mrs. Harrington sighed, checking her diamond watch. Your mother felt it was best to handle things discreetly. She understood the advantages for your family in this new arrangement. Valencia has already secured positions for your father and brother at the Bordeaux Shipping Company. The final betrayal. Her own family had sold her out for business connections. Olivia backed toward the door, suddenly desperate to escape this house, these people. Olivia, Mrs. Harrington called after her, best to bow out gracefully, for everyone's sake. That evening, Olivia's phone buzzed with a family dinner invitation. The text from her mother was breezy, as if nothing had happened. Dinner at 7, important family discussion, don't be late. Olivia almost ignored it, but anger propelled her forward. They owed her the truth, at least. When she arrived at her parents' modest home, the contrast with the Harrington estate was stark. Yet tonight, the familiar warmth felt like another lie. Around the dining table sat her parents, her older brother, her aunt and uncle, and their daughter Valencia, who didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. Olivia, her mother began awkwardly, we thought it was time we all talked as a family. As a family, Olivia repeated, staring at each face in turn. About how you've all been lying to me. Her father cleared his throat, not meeting her eyes. Now, honey, nobody's been lying. Things have simply evolved in a way that could benefit everyone. Valencia has moved in better circles since her modeling took off in Europe, her aunt explained, patting her daughter's hand proudly. The connection to the Harringtons could help us all. Your brother already has an interview at Bordeaux Shipping. Her brother at least had the grace to look uncomfortable. It's nothing personal, Liv, it's business. Nothing personal, Olivia echoed. My fiancé sleeping with my cousin is nothing personal. Valencia finally spoke, her perfect features arranged in a sympathetic expression that never reached her eyes. Dominic and I connected on a level you wouldn't understand, Olivia. We come from the same world. The world I helped him succeed in, Olivia said. While you were posing for cameras in Milan, perhaps you could step aside quietly? Her mother suggested, serving roast chicken as if they were discussing something as trivial as a change in vacation plans. For the family's sake. Olivia looked around the table at these strangers who shared her blood. You're asking me to smile and wave while my cousin marries the man I supported for years. While you all profit from my humiliation. Don't be so dramatic, Valencia sighed. No one will even remember you were engaged in a few months. I'm keeping the same wedding date and venue. It's practical. The casual cruelty silenced the room. Even Olivia's mother looked uncomfortable for a moment before recovering her composure. Valencia, dear, perhaps a little sensitivity, she murmured before turning back to Olivia. But she's right about moving forward quickly. The invitations have already been updated. Olivia pushed away from the table, appetite gone. You've all made your choices very clear. The final blow came 3 days later at what should have been her engagement party. Someone had forgotten to remove her name from the guest list, or perhaps it was intentional cruelty. Either way, Olivia found herself standing in the corner of the Harrington ballroom, watching Dominic introduce Valencia to their friends and colleagues. Sometimes fate has other plans, he announced, Valencia clinging to his arm, Olivia's redesigned ring glinting on her finger. When you meet the person you're truly meant to be with, you know it instantly. Their friends murmured sympathetic platitudes, but no one met Olivia's gaze across the room. She had become invisible, a ghost at her own engagement party. Later that night, her grandmother visited, the only family member who hadn't attended the farce of a party. Frail but clear-eyed, she pressed a vintage Leica camera and a small envelope into Olivia's hands. My inheritance comes early to you, she whispered, her lined face fierce with love. Your grandfather bought this for me when everyone said my photography was just a hobby. I built a life with it when I was widowed young. Olivia held the camera reverently. Grandma, I can't take this now. Yes, you can. Go make something beautiful from this pain, her grandmother insisted. This family has forgotten what loyalty means. Remind them someday when you're ready. By morning, Olivia had vanished. Her apartment was empty except for the furniture that belonged to the landlord and a single note on the kitchen counter. You've made your choices. Now I make mine. Paris embraced Olivia with indifferent arms. The city of love cared nothing for her broken heart, which suited her perfectly. Anonymity was a balm after months of humiliation. Here, no one knew her as the abandoned fiancée, the girl not good enough for the Harringtons. She was simply another American with a camera, invisible among the tourists crowding the Seine. Her grandmother's Leica became her lifeline. Initially, she took standard postcard shots to sell to tourists. The Eiffel Tower at sunset, Notre Dame in morning light, barely making enough for her tiny room above a bakery. But at night, she wandered the less glamorous streets, capturing moments that reflected her own pain. A woman discovering a lover's text message, her face crumpling when she thought no one was watching. An elderly man sitting alone at a cafe table set for two, checking his watch repeatedly before paying for untouched drinks. 3 months into her exile, a small gallery owner purchased 5 of these raw photographs. There is honesty here, he told her in broken English. You see what others pretend not to notice. Olivia felt exposed, as if he could read her story through her lens. When he asked her name for the display, she hesitated. Via Black, she answered impulsively, combining her childhood nickname with a translation of her surname. The pseudonym felt like armor, protecting what little remained of Olivia Blackwood. From Paris, she drifted to Prague. The medieval architecture provided new shadows to hide within, new textures of decay and resilience to capture. Her focus narrowed to hands breaking apart bread shared between lovers, hands tightly clasped during arguments, hands crossing fingers behind backs while making promises. A Czech art magazine published a small feature on the mysterious Via Black, whose face never appeared in press materials, who communicated only through written statements. The mystique added value to her work, though Olivia had created it merely for self-preservation. In Rome, 6 months into her journey, Olivia developed her betrayal series, intimate moments of human duplicity captured with unflinching precision. A bride smiling at her groom while texting her lover beneath the table. A businessman shaking hands on a deal, while his other hand made a cancellation gesture to a colleague out of sight. Each photograph was a piece of her shattered heart reassembled into art. Each sold print paid for another month abroad, another city where the Harringtons and Blackwoods couldn't find her. A year into her new life, Olivia held her first small exhibition in Milan. The gallery sold out in hours, buyers entranced by both the emotional power of her work and the enigma of its creator. Critics praised her unflinching lens on betrayal and remarkable emotional intelligence. Via Black became a whispered name in certain art circles. Olivia maintained her privacy with religious dedication. In the rare press photos needed for promotion, she obscured her face with shadow or carefully positioned camera equipment. She gave no interviews, speaking only through written statements that revealed nothing personal. The distance preserved her, kept the wound from reopening. In a Parisian cafe near Montmartre, Olivia was reviewing new photographs when an elegant, elderly woman approached. Without asking permission, she pulled out the chair opposite and began examining Olivia's portfolio spread across the table. "You've captured something raw here," she said in perfect English, pointing to a photograph of joined hands with fingers crossed behind backs. "You understand deception intimately." Olivia stiffened, gathering her photographs. "Those are private." "Nothing is truly private once it becomes art," the woman replied, her silver hair immaculately styled, her clothes expensive but understated. "I've followed your work since your first show in Milan. You've improved considerably." Rather than leaving, the woman ordered coffee for them both and introduced herself simply as a leaner. She spoke knowledgeably about composition and light, about the emotional weight of negative space. Despite her wariness, Olivia found herself engaged in the first real conversation about her work she'd had in years. "You're American," a leaner noted after their third coffee. "Yet you avoid American exhibitions." Olivia tensed again. "I prefer European sensibilities." "Or perhaps you're avoiding someone in America," a leaner suggested mildly. "Someone who might recognize your particular way of seeing the world." Before Olivia could gather her belongings and flee, a leaner placed a business card on the table. "I'm interested in becoming your patron. Exclusive access to your work in exchange for financial support. Think about it." The card bore only a name, a leaner, and a phone number. No last name, no company. Just like Via Black, this woman cultivated mystery. Against her better judgment, Olivia called the number 3 days later. Within a week, a leaner had arranged a larger studio for her, better equipment, and connections to more prestigious galleries. Under her guidance, Via Black's reputation grew steadily over the next 6 months. Then came the revelation that changed everything. The leaner invited Olivia to her left bank apartment for tea. The space was elegant and understated, with views of the Seine that tourists paid fortunes to enjoy briefly. On the mantelpiece stood several framed photographs, and as Olivia accepted her tea, she froze in recognition. There, smiling from an ornate silver frame, was Dominic Harrington in his medical school graduation gown. Beside it, a family portrait featuring the Harringtons at their estate. Olivia set down her teacup with a clatter. "Who are you really?" The leaner smiled slightly. "I thought you might have researched me by now. I'm Alina Harrington, Dominic's grandmother and the true keeper of the family fortune." Olivia's instinct was to run, but Alina gestured to her chair. "Please sit. If I'd wanted to expose you, I could have done so months ago. I've known who you were since your first exhibition in Milan." "Why?" Olivia demanded. "Why seek me out, to buy my silence, to protect your precious family name?" Alina laughed, a surprisingly youthful sound from her aging frame. "My dear, I sought you out because my family behaved abominably and I wanted to make amends the only way I could without betraying your privacy, by supporting your talent." "I don't want Harrington money," Olivia said stiffly. "Not even to further your art?" Alina asked. "Not even when that money is being diverted from those who hurt you." She opened a folder on the coffee table, revealing photographs Olivia hadn't taken. Dominic leaving hospital galas with different women, Valencia arguing with shopkeepers, maxing out credit cards, both of them fighting in public, their marriage visibly strained. They believe I'm declining, too senile to manage the estate, Alina explained with a sharp smile. My son has been trying to have me declared incompetent for years, but I've been watching and planning. She sipped her tea calmly. They married 6 months after you left. The Bordeaux shipping connection fell through when the company faced corruption charges. Valencia's modeling career ended when she gained 10 pounds. Dominic lost his position at the prestigious hospital when he was caught sleeping with the director's wife. Olivia stared at the evidence of their misery, surprised at her lack of satisfaction. Why are you showing me this? Because talented as you are, you're photographing shadows of your pain rather than moving beyond it, Alina said bluntly. And because I have a proposition that could benefit us both. She leaned forward, eyes bright with purpose. Together we could create something extraordinary, an exhibition that would bring them all face to face with their choices and their consequences. Not for revenge, my dear, but for justice. And for your freedom from this limbo you've been living in. Olivia's heart raced at the possibility. You would betray your own family. My family betrayed themselves when they abandoned principle for convenience, Alina replied. I'm simply ensuring consequences find them as consequences eventually find us all. She refilled their teacups with steady hands. What do you say, Olivia Blackwood? Shall we create your masterpiece together? That afternoon marked the beginning of their true collaboration. Over the next 7 years, Via Black became an international sensation. Olivia's Betrayal series hung in major European galleries, each photograph telling a story only she and Alina fully understood. Meanwhile, Alina documented everything happening back home. Dominic's growing alcoholism after losing hospital privileges. Valencia's shopping addiction funded by loans from both families. The quiet whispers about what happened to that nice Blackwood girl. Olivia built her skills and reputation methodically, each exhibition more acclaimed than the last. But she never showed in America. Not until she was ready. Not until justice had properly fermented. 7 years transformed Via Black from emerging talent to artistic phenomenon. Museum curators whispered her name with reverence. Collectors paid small fortunes for her limited prints, and critics devoted thousands of words to analyzing her unflinching exploration of human deception. Through it all, Olivia maintained her carefully constructed anonymity, her face unknown, her real name unspoken. Each exhibition revealed another layer of her artistry. In Berlin, she presented promises, featuring wedding vows captured mid-utterance beside evidence of their future breaking. In Barcelona, she unveiled reflections, showing subjects caught between their public facades and private selves. Each sold-out show built her legend while keeping Olivia Blackwood safely hidden behind Via Black. Alina played her role perfectly, acting as both patron and shield. She managed the business details, ensuring Olivia's privacy remained intact while building the mystique that added value to each photograph. Their partnership functioned with the precision of a well-crafted watch, each woman fulfilling her purpose in their shared mission. Meanwhile, Alina continued gathering evidence from home. Her monthly packages arrived like clockwork, filled with photographs and documents that painted a clear picture of the Harringtons and Blackwoods' declining fortunes. Dominic had been relegated to a small medical practice after his hospital dismissal. His alcoholism worsened with each professional setback. Valencia had developed a shopping addiction to compensate for her fading beauty and status, maxing out credit cards faster than Dominic could pay them off. They fought publicly and often, their perfect marriage crumbling under financial strain and mutual resentment. The Harrington parents had been forced to open their estate for heritage tour to maintain the property taxes. The Blackwoods had never received the promised positions at Bordeaux Shipping after the company's corruption scandal, leaving them with broken family relationships and nothing to show for it. Olivia viewed these developments with detached interest, like studying subjects through her viewfinder. The pain that once consumed her had transformed into something else, Not forgiveness, but perspective. Their power over her had diminished with each photograph she sold, each exhibition that bore her chosen name. When the prestigious Hanover Gallery in New York contacted Via Black's representative about hosting her first American exhibition, Alina brought the offer directly to Olivia's Amsterdam studio. "It's time," Alina said simply, placing the formal invitation on Olivia's workbench. "They're offering carte blanche, full creative control, unprecedented security for your privacy, and the most exclusive opening night of the season." Olivia's hands stilled over the photograph she'd been adjusting. "America means risk. Someone might recognize my style, connect Via Black to Olivia Blackwood. After 9 years, when no one has bothered looking for you." Alina shook her head. "Besides, being recognized is rather the point now, isn't it?" Olivia traced the embossed lettering on the invitation. "You want me to reveal myself. I want you to complete your journey," Alina corrected. "Art requires resolution, dear." Even your beloved Henry Cartier-Bresson eventually stepped from behind his camera. For weeks, Olivia considered the offer while continuing to work. She photographed couples in Amsterdam parks, capturing the precise moment trust either deepened or fractured between them. She studied her own reflection, noting the changes 9 years had wrought. The softness was gone from her face, replaced by defined cheekbones and eyes that missed nothing. She'd cropped her once-long hair into a sleek bob and adopted European styles that Olivia Blackwood would never have worn. Even if she stood before them now, would they recognize her? The thought was both disturbing and liberating. Her decision crystallized when Alina called with unexpected news. "I've had a minor stroke," she announced with characteristic directness. Nothing fatal, but a warning nonetheless. Olivia flew to Paris immediately, finding Alina in her apartment, frailer than before but still commanding her domain from a chaise lounge by the window. "Don't look so concerned." Alina waved away Olivia's worry. "The doctors say I'll recover fully with proper rest, but it does rather clarify our timeline." From her bedside table, she produced a folder containing detailed blueprints of the Hanover Gallery. "I've taken the liberty of designing your American debut. I'm calling it Homecoming." The plans revealed an exhibition space arranged as a spiral, forcing visitors to walk a chronological path through Olivia's journey. Hidden cameras would capture reactions, while strategic lighting would highlight certain photographs for maximum impact. And for our grand finale, Alina continued, showing Olivia a list of names, exclusive, non-transferable invitations for the Harringtons and Blackwoods. As patrons of the arts, of course. Olivia stared at the names that once defined her existence. 9 years is a long time to nurse a wound," she said quietly. Alina took her hand, surprisingly strong despite her condition. "This isn't about the wound anymore. It's about claiming your narrative. I'm running out of time to see justice done, my dear, and you're running out of time to find peace." In that moment, Olivia saw clearly what she had been working toward all these years. Not revenge, but reclamation. Not punishment, but truth. She had transformed her pain into art, but she had never faced its source directly. "All right," she agreed. "Homecoming it is." The following months passed in careful preparation. Olivia selected photographs from her vast collection, arranging them to tell a specific story. Some had been exhibited before, but many remained private, too personal to share until now. She created new pieces specifically for the exhibition, including a self-portrait taken the night she left, tear-streaked but determined. Alina handled the logistics, working with the gallery to create exactly the space they envisioned. She arranged the exclusive invitations, each one personally addressed in her elegant handwriting. She secured the services of the most discreet security team in New York to manage the revelation that would come. Everything was orchestrated with the precision of a symphony building to its crescendo. 2 weeks before the exhibition opening, Olivia received proof copies of the exhibition catalog. The cover featured a simple title, Homecoming, a Via Black retrospective. Inside, scholarly essays analyzed her work without knowing the personal truth behind each image. The final page remained blank, awaiting the photograph that would complete the collection, Olivia revealing herself to the world. Alina called that evening excitement audible despite the transatlantic connection. The invitations have been delivered. The Harringtons and Blackwoods have all RSVP'd yes, though they have no idea why they've been specially invited. Your mother actually called the gallery to confirm it wasn't a mistake. And Dominic and Valencia? Olivia asked, surprised at how steady her voice remained when speaking their names. Particularly eager to attend. Apparently, Via Black's work might attract the sort of wealthy patrons Dominic needs for his struggling practice. And Valencia has been telling everyone she always had an eye for emerging artists. Olivia laughed, the sound unfamiliar but genuine. They have no idea who they're really meeting. None whatsoever, Eleanor confirmed with satisfaction. 9 years, my dear, 9 years of watching them destroy themselves while you built something magnificent. Justice has a poetry to it, doesn't it? As Olivia packed her final belongings from the Amsterdam studio, she found her grandmother's letter, still in its envelope after all these years. Go make something beautiful from this pain, she had written. And when you're ready, come home on your own terms. Olivia tucked the letter into her carry-on. She was finally ready to follow all of her grandmother's advice. The Hanover Gallery in Manhattan had been transformed according to Eleanor's exacting vision. Its pristine white walls now formed a spiral pathway, leading visitors on a journey through Via Black's career. From the earliest Paris street scenes to her most recent work, each photograph was positioned to build toward the revelation at the center. Lighting technicians worked through the night, ensuring each image received precisely the illumination it required, while security installed hidden cameras at Eleanor's direction. Ms. Black is very particular about documenting reactions to her work, the gallery director explained to her staff, none of whom had met the artist personally. Via Black's representative, an elegant elderly woman, oversaw every detail without revealing anything about the creator whose work commanded such attention. Opening night arrived with the weight of inevitability. Olivia watched from a private room above the gallery as the first guests arrived, the real-time security feed displaying New York's elite in their finery, air-kissing and chattering as they sipped champagne in the reception area. Critics clustered together, already formulating opinions before seeing a single photograph. Collectors examined the price list, calculating investments rather than emotions. Then the Harringtons arrived, noticeably less polished than in Olivia's memories. Mr. Harrington's suit had been expensive once but now showed signs of wear. Mrs. Harrington's jewelry appeared heavy but outdated. Behind them came Dominic, his once athletic frame slightly soft around the middle, a practiced smile not quite hiding the tension in his jaw. Valencia clung to his arm, still beautiful but with a brittleness that hadn't been there 9 years ago. Her dress was couture, but from several seasons past, her makeup carefully applied to disguise the effects of time and stress. The Blackwoods followed shortly after, Olivia's parents now gray and uncertain in this unfamiliar territory. Her brother trailed behind them, constantly checking his phone as if expecting more important matters to call him away. Olivia touched the small communication device in her ear. They're all here, she confirmed to Eleanor, who waited in a separate room until her cue. Remember the plan? Eleanor's voice came through clearly. Let them move through the spiral before you make your appearance. Let the photographs speak first. Olivia nodded to herself, though Eleanor couldn't see her. After 9 years of preparation, she felt strangely calm. These people had once defined her entire existence. Now they were merely subjects, frozen in her viewfinder. At precisely 8 o'clock, the gallery director welcomed the exclusive crowd and invited them to begin their journey through Via Black's world. As planned, the Harringtons and Blackwoods received special escort to enter the spiral first, a privilege that would ensure they experienced the full impact of the exhibition. Olivia watched on the monitors as they moved through the first section of photographs, her early Paris work. Both families seemed unimpressed, making polite but disinterested comments about composition and light. They had no context for these images, no understanding of the woman behind the camera who had fled their cruelty with nothing but her grandmother's Leica. The second turn of the spiral introduced locations that might have seemed vaguely familiar. The cafe where Olivia had worked, photographed years later during her first secret visit back to the States. The park where Dominic had proposed, captured in harsh winter light rather than the spring bloom of their engagement. Valencia paused at this image, her brow furrowing slightly before she moved on. By the third turn, the photographs became unmistakable. The Harrington estate, shot from a distance but clearly recognizable to its owners. The church where Olivia and Dominic were to have married. Valencia trying on what had been Olivia's wedding dress, captured through a boutique window without her knowledge. Mrs. Harrington grabbed her husband's arm, whispering urgently. Dominic stopped completely before a photograph of himself crossing his fingers behind his back during their engagement photos. A detail only someone who had been there would know to capture. The spiral tightened further. Now came the photographs Alina had provided, evidence of Dominic's affairs, Valencia selling family heirlooms to fund her shopping addiction, both families in decline. Beside each image hung documents: the prenuptial agreement that would have left Olivia with nothing, medical reports detailing Dominic's increasing alcohol consumption, credit card statements showing Valencia's mounting debt. "What is this?" Mr. Harrington demanded loudly, looking around for gallery staff. "Who is responsible for this invasion of privacy?" But the spiral drew them inexorably inward, security guards positioned to ensure they couldn't retreat. Other guests now followed behind, murmuring in confusion and interest at the Harringtons' obvious distress. At the center of the spiral stood a photograph of Olivia herself, taken the night she left, tear-streaked but determined. Beside it waited a veiled figure dressed in black. When everyone had assembled in the central space, the figure removed her veil. "Welcome to my homecoming," Olivia said, her voice steady and clear. "I believe we have unfinished business." The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Dominic lunged forward, but security guards blocked his path. "Olivia," Valencia's voice cracked. "You are via black." "Impossible," Mrs. Harrington whispered, her carefully maintained composure crumbling. "You were nobody." Olivia smiled slightly. "And yet here we are." On the surrounding walls, screens activated simultaneously, playing footage from 9 years ago: Dominic's cruel dismissal, the Harringtons' rejection, the family dinner where Olivia was asked to step aside for everyone's benefit. Alina had retrieved the security footage from the Harrington estate and recorded conversations Olivia hadn't even known existed. "How dare you?" Dominic shouted, face flushed with anger and humiliation as the gathered elite of the art world watched his past behavior exposed. "This is defamation. I'll sue you for everything you have." "Everything I have," Olivia repeated calmly. "That's what this was always about, wasn't it? What I could provide for you during medical school. What I would surrender when you decided I was no longer useful." She gestured to a photograph on her right, the prenuptial agreement with certain clauses highlighted. "You ensured I would walk away with nothing when you discarded me. You simply didn't expect me to walk away before you were finished using me." Valencia stepped forward, tears ruining her perfect makeup. "You were never supposed to amount to anything. You were the plain cousin who was good at homework. You were supposed to disappear." "And I did," Olivia replied. "Olivia Blackwood disappeared. Via Black emerged. I should thank you, really. Without your betrayal, I might never have discovered my true potential." As chaos reigned, reporters scribbled notes furiously and gallery patrons whispered among themselves. The doors opened once more. Alina Harrington entered, leaning on a cane but radiating authority. The room fell silent at her commanding presence. "Grandmother," Dominic's voice dropped to a shocked whisper. "What are you doing here?" "Enough," Alina announced, her voice carrying through the stunned crowd. "For 9 years, I've watched my family descend into disgrace. And for 9 years, I've had the privilege of watching Olivia Blackwood rise from the ashes you created." She moved to stand beside Olivia, a position that made their alliance unmistakable. "While you were squandering your inheritance, while you were betraying your vows and your basic human decency, I found the daughter I should have had." Mrs. Harrington stepped forward, her voice shaking. Mother, you can't mean that you funded this public humiliation of your own family? Not funding, my dear, Alina corrected. Patronage, there's a difference. One that you might have learned had you valued anything beyond appearances. She nodded to the gallery director, who unveiled the final piece of the exhibition, documents disinheriting Dominic and establishing the Blackwood Foundation for the Arts with Olivia as director. Beside these papers hung the centerpiece photograph, Olivia and Alina in Paris years ago, already planning this moment of reckoning. You can't do this, Dominic's father sputtered. The family trust is ironclad. The family trust is mine to direct, Alina responded. As your father established and as 3 separate law firms have confirmed, the papers were filed months ago. Reporters surged forward, cameras flashing as the Harrington family drama unfolded before them. Headline writers could already envision tomorrow's sensations. Via Black reveals identity in stunning exhibition of justice, and Harrington fortune redirected to abandoned fiancé. Through it all, Olivia maintained her composure, answering select questions with practiced grace while watching her former families crumble under the weight of their exposed actions. When asked if this exhibition was about revenge, she smiled slightly. Not revenge. Reclamation. Of my narrative, my talent, and my future. Everything you see here is truth, painful perhaps, but truth nonetheless. Art has always been about truth, even when it hurts. As security began ushering general patrons toward the reception area, Olivia's former family members made desperate last attempts. Her mother claimed she had always believed in her. Valencia whispered tearful apologies. Dominic stood shell-shocked, finally facing consequences he couldn't charm or buy his way out of. Olivia simply walked away from them all, Alina on her arm, leaving them to the journalists hungry for more details of the sensational story. Their exit was captured by dozens of cameras, the mysterious Via Black finally revealed as the woman they had all once discarded. The morning after the exhibition, Olivia woke in her hotel suite to find every major newspaper featuring her story. Art world sensation Via Black reveals shocking identity, declared the New York Times. Abandoned fiancé returns as famous artist to confront family, proclaimed the Daily News with less restraint. Her phone had been turned off since midnight, the constant notifications becoming overwhelming as the story spread across social media and news outlets worldwide. Alina arrived for breakfast, bringing fresh copies of the papers and a satisfied smile. Quite the triumph, she said, pouring coffee with steady hands. The gallery director called this morning. Every piece sold within hours of opening, even at the inflated prices. The foundation is off to an excellent start. Olivia spread jam on her toast, studying the front-page photograph of herself and Alina leaving the gallery. It doesn't feel like I expected, she admitted. All these years I imagined this moment would bring closure, satisfaction. And instead, Alina prompted, instead I feel oddly hollow. Olivia set down her knife. Seeing them again, they seemed so small. Not the giants who controlled my life, just flawed, selfish people who made cruel choices. Alina nodded, understanding in her eyes. That may be the greatest victory of all, my dear. When those who hurt us are reduced to human scale, they lose their power over us completely. The following days brought a whirlwind of attention. Gallery owners who had previously worked with Via Black discovered her true identity and clamored for exclusive contracts. Museums that had acquired her work requested special appearances. Critics wrote lengthy analyses of how Olivia Blackwood's personal history informed Via Black's artistic vision, finding meaning she had never consciously intended. Through it all, Olivia maintained the boundaries she had established years ago. She gave limited interviews, carefully managed her public appearances, and continued to protect the core of herself that had survived betrayal to create beauty. 2 weeks after the exhibition opening, Olivia received a call from her real estate agent. "The warehouse is yours," the woman announced triumphantly. "The owner accepted your offer this morning." The abandoned photography studio in the warehouse district had captivated Olivia immediately. Its soaring ceilings, massive windows, and industrial character provided the perfect canvas for her vision. With the foundation's resources now at her disposal, she could transform it into both her personal workspace and a mentorship center for young photographers who lack the advantages of connections and wealth. Eleanor accompanied her on the final walkthrough, her architectural knowledge proving invaluable as they planned renovations. The top floor will make an excellent gallery space for student work, she observed, making notes on her tablet. And this loading dock can become an outdoor classroom for natural light techniques. As they finalized plans with the contractor, Olivia felt a sense of purpose that transcended her past. This space would become something entirely new, not a reaction to pain but a creation born from possibility. While construction began on the studio, Eleanor decided to relocate permanently. The Paris apartment holds too many memories, she explained as they toured potential properties. And I find I prefer being close enough to advise on foundation matters while enjoying my retirement. They found the perfect cottage 30 minutes from Olivia's warehouse. Surrounded by gardens and set back from the road, it offered Eleanor privacy while keeping her connected to their shared work. The moving company had barely finished unloading her carefully curated belongings when Eleanor hosted their first weekly tea in her new sunroom. I received an interesting call yesterday, she mentioned casually, passing Olivia a plate of scones. From Valencia. Olivia paused mid-bite. What did she want? Apparently Dominic has filed for divorce. The exhibition was the final straw in their crumbling marriage. Eleanor sipped her tea with practiced nonchalance. She claims he became enraged after seeing your success, blamed her for losing you, and by extension, his grandmother's fortune. I cannot say I'm surprised, Olivia replied after a moment. Their relationship was built on mutual advantage, not love. Once the advantages disappeared, what was left? Indeed. Eleanor set down her cup precisely. She's in rather dire financial straits. The divorce will leave her with significant debt and no marketable skills. She asked if there might be some position available at the foundation, for family's sake. Olivia laughed, a genuine sound she wouldn't have thought possible when hearing Valencia's name. Family, how convenient that she remembers our connection now. I told her any decisions regarding foundation staffing were entirely yours. Eleanor arched an eyebrow. Though I admit to some curiosity about your response. 6 months passed in productive work. The photography studio opened with a small ceremony covered by local media. The mentorship program received hundreds of applications for its first 10 positions. The Blackwood Foundation established itself as a serious presence in the arts community, funding not only photography but other visual media that gave voice to overlooked perspectives. Through it all, Olivia received occasional messages from her former family members. Her mother sent birthday cards with tentative notes about reconnecting. Her brother emailed about his children, nieces and nephews she had never met. Dominic's father called the foundation office once, though he hung up when Olivia herself answered. She acknowledged these overtures without encouraging them, maintaining the boundaries that had protected her during her years abroad. The power dynamic had shifted permanently. Any relationship would be on her terms, not theirs. Then one rainy Tuesday, Valencia appeared at the studio reception desk. Thinner than Olivia remembered, dressed in clothes that were expensive but showing wear, she clutched an oversized portfolio and avoided the receptionist's eyes. I have an appointment with Ms. Blackwood, she claimed, though no such meeting existed. Olivia watched on the security monitor, considering her options. She could have Valencia removed, a justified response to their history. She could ignore her presence entirely, a passive rejection that would make its own point. Instead, she pressed the intercom. Send her to my office, please. Valencia entered the space hesitantly, her confident stride replaced by uncertainty. The portfolio she carried contained modeling photos from her brief career and amateurish attempts at photography, clearly assembled to suggest artistic inclinations she had never previously expressed. I thought perhaps, she began, words tumbling over each other. With my background in visual arts and my connections, I could contribute to the foundation. In some capacity. Olivia studied her cousin's face, noting the fine lines of stress and the careful makeup covering dark circles. Your connections, she repeated mildly. The ones that made you more suitable for Dominic than I was? Valencia flinched. That was cruel of me, of all of us. She set down the portfolio, her hands shaking slightly. The divorce left me with nothing. Dominic hid assets, claimed gambling debts were mine. My parents cannot help. They invested everything in businesses that failed. And so you come to me, Olivia concluded. The cousin you helped betray and discard. I deserve your hatred, Valencia whispered. But I have nowhere else to turn. Olivia considered the woman before her, remembering Alina's words about those who hurt us being reduced to human scale. Valencia had once seemed so glamorous, so perfect, so entitled to whatever she wanted. Now she stood revealed as simply desperate and afraid. Breaking the cycle requires someone to be brave enough to show mercy, Olivia said finally, echoing thoughts she had been considering since the exhibition. The foundation needs an administrative assistant to manage correspondence and scheduling. The pay is modest but fair. You would report to our operations director, not to me. Valencia's eyes widened in disbelief. You would give me a job after everything? Not for your sake, Olivia clarified. For mine. Carrying anger serves no purpose once justice is satisfied. The position is yours if you want it, with the understanding that it comes with no special treatment and high expectations. Later that evening, as Olivia described the encounter to Alina over their weekly dinner, the older woman nodded approvingly. Quite strategic. Keep your former enemies where you can see them. Olivia smiled. Perhaps, or perhaps it's simpler than that. My grandmother once told me to make something beautiful from pain. Beauty often requires balance, contrast, resolution. Even forgiveness when earned. The following week, Olivia found herself photographing a young woman with extraordinary talent but limited means. As they reviewed the photographs together, Olivia recognized something of herself in the girl's determination and raw creative instinct. Without ceremony, she placed her grandmother's vintage Leica in the girl's hands. Sometimes, she said, capturing the moment the girl realized what was happening. The perfect shot is the one that shows not who someone was but who they're becoming. Outside the window, Alina watched with a satisfied smile, witness to the completion of their journey. Justice had been served, but more importantly, healing had taken root, growing into something neither of them could have imagined 9 years ago when a broken-hearted girl fled with nothing but a camera and determination. In her downtown office, Valencia efficiently managed the foundation's correspondence, her natural organizational skills finding constructive purpose. On her desk stood a small photograph Olivia had given her, not of their shared past, but of the foundation's first student exhibition. A reminder that even those who lose everything can find a way to rebuild, though the path might not be the one they would have chosen. The Harringtons and Blackwoods gradually adapted to the new reality, some with grace, others with lingering resentment. But their power to wound had been permanently broken, replaced by the knowledge that the woman they had disowned had not only survived but flourished beyond their imagining. And in her studio each morning, Olivia Blackwood, known to the world as Via Black, continued creating art that transformed pain into beauty, betrayal into insight, and the past into a foundation for something entirely new.